The stars were supposed to bring peace. That's what Captain Sarah Chen had been told her entire life, that humanity's expansion into the cosmos would usher in a golden age of cooperation between species. But as she stood on the observation deck of the UES Harbinger, watching the alien fleet scatter before them like startled birds, she knew the truth. Humanity hadn't brought peace to the stars. We'd brought terror. "Status report," she called, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. The massive viewscreen displayed the retreat of the Ziraxian vessels, their crystalline structures glinting in the light of the binary stars. "They're running, Captain," replied Lieutenant Alex Torres, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Their entire defense fleet is in full retreat. We didn't even have to fire a second volley." Sarah nodded, her face betraying nothing of the conflict raging inside her. The brass back on Earth would call this a victory, another system brought under human protection. But protection looked a lot like conquest from the other side. "Commander Richter, please inform Earth Command that the Ziraxian threat has been neutralized," she said, turning to her XO. "And prepare a diplomatic team. I want to speak with their leadership within the hour." David Richter, a bear of a man with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, raised an eyebrow. "With all due respect, Captain, protocol states we should secure their military installations first." "I'm well aware of protocol, Commander." Sarah's voice carried a sharp edge. "But I'd like to try talking before we start shooting again. Novel concept, I know." The bridge fell silent, the only sounds the soft beeps and whirs of the ship's systems. Sarah knew what they were thinking. Ever since the Proxima incident, humanity had adopted a shoot-first approach to interstellar relations. After watching their first colony world burn, who could blame them? But Sarah had joined Starfleet with dreams of exploration, not domination, not extermination. "Very well, Captain," Richter said finally. "I'll prepare the team." As the bridge crew returned to their duties, Sarah turned back to the viewscreen. The Ziraxian homeworld hung there, a swirling marble of purple and blue. Billions of lives, billions of souls who now looked to the stars and saw not wonder, but humans. And humans, as the galaxy was quickly learning, were terrifying. It hadn't always been this way. First contact with the Eldari had gone smoothly, a peaceful exchange of knowledge and technology. For nearly a decade, humanity had been the eager student, learning the ways of faster-than-light travel and gravitational manipulation from their more advanced neighbors. Then came the Proxima Centauri colony. Over 30,000 human settlers wiped out in a single night. The official story blamed the Frexel, a warrior race from the Outer Rim. But Sarah had seen the classified reports, the evidence suggesting Eldari involvement. A preemptive strike, some analysts called it. The Eldari had seen humanity's rapid advancement and decided to cull the herd before we became a threat. They'd miscalculated, badly. Within 5 years, the Eldari civilization was no more. Their worlds occupied, their technology assimilated, their people scattered across refugee camps throughout the galaxy. Humanity had emerged from its brief war with capabilities that should have taken centuries to develop, and a reputation that made even the most warlike species tremble. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Ziraxian High Council," called out Communications Officer Puddle. They're offering unconditional surrender." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. Another victory without a fight. Another species that would rather capitulate than face what the Eldari had awakened. "Put them through," she said, straightening her uniform. The viewscreen shifted, revealing a trio of Ziraxians, tall, angular beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions. Currently, they were a pale blue, the color of fear, if Sarah remembered her xenobiology correctly. "I am Cleth Moru, Supreme Voice of the Ziraxian Unity," said the central figure, its melodic voice translated by the ship's computers. "We offer our complete surrender and beg mercy for our people. We have no quarrel with humanity." "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Harbinger. I accept your surrender. Supreme Voice, but I'd prefer to discuss terms in person. My ship will maintain orbit, and I'll shuttle down with a small diplomatic team. Is this acceptable? The aliens conferred briefly, their skin rippling with waves of surprise, violet and green. We accept. You will be received at the Temple of Voices within the cycle. The transmission ended, and Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That's not standard procedure, Captain, Richter said quietly. No, it's not, Sarah agreed. But I'm tired of being feared, Commander. I'd like to try understanding instead. 3 hours later, Sarah stood in the massive Temple of Voices, a structure that seemed to be made entirely of frozen music, crystalline spires that hummed with resonant frequencies, creating a symphony that changed as one moved through the space. The surrender ceremony was brief, the terms generous, at least compared to what Fleet Command would have demanded. The Ziraxians would maintain autonomy over their internal affairs. They would contribute ships and resources to the human defensive sphere. And in return, they would receive protection and trade privileges. It was the best Sarah could offer. A softer form of subjugation, but subjugation nonetheless. As the ceremony concluded, Cleth Moru approached her privately, its skin now a thoughtful amber. You are not what we expected, Captain Chen. It said, multifaceted eyes studying her. The stories we have heard, they speak of humans as conquerors, destroyers. We prepared for the end of our civilization today. Sarah met its gaze steadily. Not all humans want conquest. Supreme Voice. Some of us remember what it was like to be the less advanced species, to look up at the stars with wonder, not fear. The alien skin rippled with a color Sarah couldn't interpret. Then why do you serve your military? It was a question Sarah asked herself daily. Because someone needs to remember what we were meant to be. Before the stars taught us to be cruel. Cleth Moru was silent for a long moment. Then, there is something you should see, Captain. Something we discovered in the outer reaches of our system. Something that may explain why the galaxy fears what humanity might become. Sarah's communicator chirped before she could respond. Captain, we're picking up unusual readings from the system's edge. Came Lieutenant Torres' voice. Some kind of structure. Massive. And sir, it's giving off energy signatures similar to those we recorded during the Proxima incident. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she looked at Cleth Moru, whose skin had drained to bone white. You found it too, the alien whispered. The harbinger of what's to come. And in that moment, standing beneath alien spires that sang with voices not her own, Captain Sarah Chen realized that perhaps humanity hadn't brought terror to the stars after all. Perhaps we'd simply recognized it first. Cleth Moru led Sarah through winding corridors of the temple, each turning revealing crystalline architecture that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The walls hummed with tones that shifted as they passed, a living symphony responding to their presence. Our ancestors built this place 10,000 cycles ago, the alien said, its skin now a deep, thoughtful purple. They believed music was the fundamental language of the universe, that through harmony, one could understand the cosmos. Sarah nodded, her mind still wrestling with Torres' report. My people have similar beliefs. We sent music into space before we could travel there ourselves. Songs, sounds, greetings, hoping someone would hear us. And someone did, Cleth Moru said quietly. They reached a chamber smaller than the grand hall where the surrender had taken place. At its center stood what appeared to be a pool of liquid mercury, perfectly still despite the absence of any visible containment. The memory pool, Cleth Moru explained, our most sacred technology. It allows us to share experiences directly, mind to mind. The alien gestured toward the pool. I cannot explain what we found. You must see it. Sarah hesitated, years of security training screaming caution. I'm not authorized to undergo alien psychic procedures. Cleth Moru's skin rippled with what Sarah now recognized as impatience. Captain Chen, your ship has weapons capable of reducing our world to ash. I believe you can risk touching our pool. Fair point. Sarah tapped her communicator. Chen to Harbinger. I'm about to participate in a Xeraxian information exchange. If I don't check in within 15 minutes, send Richter with the security team. Understood, Captain, came the reply. Though Commander Richter is requesting permission to express his strong objection to this course of action. Sarah almost smiled. Noted. Chen out. She turned to Klethmoru. What do I do? Place your hand in the pool. I will do the same. Our experiences will flow between us. Sarah took a deep breath and reached toward the mercury-like substance. As her fingers broke the surface, she expected wetness, but instead felt a tingling warmth. Klethmoru mirrored her action, its long, iridescent fingers creating barely a ripple. The world dissolved. Sarah was no longer in the temple. She was Klethmoru in a Xeraxian research vessel, approaching an anomaly at the edge of their system. She felt the aliens' fascination, its scientific curiosity as they detected the massive structure hidden behind the ninth planet. The structure defied conventional description. It was both technological and organic, a lattice of dark material spreading across space like a web. At its center, a sphere that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. But it was the sensation that accompanied the vision that struck Sarah most profoundly. A crushing dread, a primal fear that transcended species. Klethmoru's crew had felt it too. Several had become catatonic upon seeing the structure. Others had taken their own lives in the days following the discovery. Then came flashes. Faster now. Xeraxian researchers decoding signals emanating from the structure. Fragments of information. Images of worlds burning. Species falling. And through it all, a sense of something vast and ancient, stirring from slumber. The final image burned into Sarah's mind. A star map showing similar structures detected across the galaxy, including one in the Proxima Centauri system. Sarah pulled her hand from the pool with a gasp, staggering backward. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she struggled to process what she'd seen. Now you understand, Klethmoru said, its skin pale and translucent. We were not the first to find these artifacts. The Eldari discovered 120 of your years ago. Sarah's mind raced, connecting pieces that had never quite fit. The Proxima attack. It wasn't a preemptive strike against humanity. No, the Eldari were trying to destroy the artifact when your colony was established. They could not warn you without revealing what they knew. So they sacrificed 30,000 of my people. Sarah's voice rose, anger cutting through her shock. Klethmoru's skin darkened to a sorrowful blue. The Eldari believed they were sacrificing thousands to save billions. They underestimated how humanity would respond. Sarah paced the chamber, military training kicking in as she assessed tactical implications. These artifacts, their weapons. We believe they are seeds, Klethmoru corrected, left by something that comes when civilizations reach a certain technological threshold, something that harvests advanced species. It has happened before, many times. There are records in ancient ruins across the galaxy, civilizations that rose and vanished overnight. Sarah stopped pacing. The Proxima artifact, did we destroy it during the war? No. According to our findings, it activated shortly after your ships bombarded the planet. Cold realization washed over Sarah. And now it's sending a signal. Klethmoru's skin pulsed with agreement. To the others. To whatever left them here. Your scientists must have detected the energy signature, even if they didn't understand its purpose. Sarah's mind flashed to the classified briefings, the unexplained radiation patterns detected after Proxima, the sudden technological leaps in weapons development that followed. Had Earth's scientists been studying the artifact's emissions all along? Your leaders know, Captain Chen, Klethmoru said softly. Why else would humanity arm itself so rapidly? Why conquer rather than explore? They are preparing for war against something they cannot name. And in their fear, they have become what other species fear. Sarah's communicator chirped. Captain, we're picking up unusual activity from the structure. It's changing configuration, and we're detecting similar energy signatures from 3 other systems within our sensor range. The implications hit her like a physical blow. They're waking up. All of them. Clethmore's skin bleached white. Sooner than we predicted. Sarah tapped her communicator. Taurus, I need a secure channel to Fleet Admiral Wilson. Priority Alpha. Captain, Taurus replied, his voice tense. We're receiving a broad-spectrum transmission from Earth Command. All ships are being recalled to Sol system. They're initiating Scorched Earth protocol. Sarah froze. Scorched Earth was theoretical, a last resort strategy involving the deployment of planet-killer weapons across all human-controlled space. A final stand that would leave nothing for an invader to take. When? She asked, her voice hollow. 72 hours, Captain. Sarah looked at Clethmore, whose alien features somehow perfectly conveyed the horror she felt. We need to get to the artifact. Now. Why? The alien asked. What can one ship do against something so ancient? Sarah straightened her uniform. Decision made. I don't know, but humanity didn't survive this long by giving up when the odds seemed impossible. And I'll be damned if I let Fleet Command turn half the galaxy to ash out of fear. She tapped her communicator again. Richter, prepare a science team. We're taking the Harbinger to the edge of the system. And inform Earth Command that we're investigating an anomaly that may be related to the Proxima incident. Captain, Richter's voice held warning. If this is related to Scorched Earth, then we're all dead anyway. Sarah cut him off. But I'm not going out hiding in a bunker on Earth. Prepare the ship. As they hurried back through the temple's humming corridors, Clethmore matched her pace. My researchers, they can help. They've been studying the artifact for months. Sarah nodded. Have them ready in an hour. Whatever these things are, whatever left them here. They're about to find out that humanity doesn't just bring terror to the stars. What else do you bring, Captain Chen? The alien asked. Sarah's expression hardened as they stepped into the waning light of the Xeraxian sunset. Something the galaxy needs more than fear right now, she said quietly. Defiance. The UEA's Harbinger cut through the darkness at the edge of the Xeraxian system, its engines pushing well beyond safety protocols. Sarah stood on the bridge, watching as the massive structure came into view on the main screen. Up close, it was even more unsettling than in Clethmore's memories. A sprawling web of dark material that seemed to drink in the light around it, with a perfect sphere of absolute blackness at its center. Sensors are having trouble getting clear readings, Captain, Lieutenant Torres reported, frustration evident in his voice. It's like the structure is shifting somehow, even though we can see it's not moving. The Xeraxian scientists reported similar difficulties, Clethmore said from the science station where it worked alongside the human crew. Its skin had settled into a deep, concentrated indigo. The artifact exists partially outside normal spacetime. Commander Richter scowled. That's not exactly helpful information. Neither is Earth Command's plan to vaporize half the galaxy, Sarah countered. At least the Xeraxians are trying to understand these things rather than just blow them up. 48 hours had passed since they'd left Xeraxia Prime. 48 hours of increasingly desperate communications from Earth, each more strident than the last. The Scorched Earth Protocol was proceeding. Colony worlds were being evacuated. Fleet movements suggested they were positioning planet killers at strategic points across human space. And now, reports were coming in of unusual activity from other species as well. The Vrexel battle fleets were on the move. The Tauran Confederacy had gone silent. The remaining Eldari enclaves were evacuating to unknown coordinates. The galaxy was preparing for war against an enemy no one could name. Captain, Communications Officer Patel interrupted Sarah's thoughts. Incoming transmission from Admiral Wilson. Priority Omega. For your eyes only. Sarah nodded. I'll take it in my ready room. Commander Richter, you have the bridge. In the privacy of her ready room, Sarah steeled herself before activating the secure terminal. Admiral Wilson's face appeared, his usual stoic expression replaced by something she'd never seen before. Fear. Captain Chen, he began without preamble, your diversion to the Ziraxian anomaly has been noted. I'm ordering you to abort this mission immediately and return to Earth. Sarah kept her voice steady. With respect, Admiral, running back to Earth won't solve anything if these artifacts are waking up across the galaxy. Wilson's jaw tightened. This isn't a request, Captain. This is a direct order from the Joint Chiefs. Whatever these things are, they're beyond our capacity to fight. Our only hope is the Scorched Earth Protocol. You mean our only plan is to destroy everything before this enemy can take it, Sarah countered. That's surrender, not strategy. It's survival. Wilson snapped. Listen to me, Sarah. The artifact at Proxima wasn't the first one we found. We've known about these things for 15 years. We've tried studying them. We've tried communicating with them. We've tried destroying them. Nothing works. Sarah leaned forward. What do you mean? Nothing works. Wilson looked suddenly older, the weight of his knowledge evident in the lines of his face. The first artifact we discovered was in the Kuiper Belt. We sent 3 research teams. None returned. Then we tried a tactical nuclear strike. The warhead never detonated. It just disappeared into the structure. And after that, the artifact changed, started emitting signals. The same signals detected after Proxima. Wilson nodded. We believe the artifacts are networked somehow. When one is threatened, the others respond. After the Kuiper Belt incident, we detected activation sequences in artifacts across nearby systems, including one in Eldari space. Pieces clicked into place in Sarah's mind. The Eldari weren't acting alone at Proxima. They were working with us. A joint operation, Wilson confirmed, to destroy the artifact before it fully activated. It failed, catastrophically. And now, 15 years later, the entire network is waking up. Sarah absorbed this, her mind racing. Admiral, there has to be another way. The Ziraxians have been studying their artifact for months. They've made progress in decoding the signals. It's too late for research, Captain. We're out of time. The Kuiper Belt artifact is changing configuration. It's building something. The Proxima artifact is doing the same, and we're detecting similar patterns from every known artifact in the galaxy. Sarah thought of Cleth Moore's words. They are seeds. Whatever's coming, Wilson continued, it'll be here in less than 24 hours. The Scorched Earth Protocol is our only chance to deny these things whatever they're after. If they want our worlds, our technology, our people, they'll find nothing but ash. And if they just want us dead, we'll have done their job for them. Sarah replied. Wilson's face hardened. That's a chance we have to take. Return to Earth immediately, Captain. That's an order. The transmission cut off, leaving Sarah alone with impossible choices. When she returned to the bridge, all eyes turned to her. Captain, Torres called out, the artifact is accelerating its reconfiguration. Energy readings are off the charts. On the view screen, the dark web was shifting, tendrils of material flowing toward the central sphere, which was now pulsing with barely visible light. How long until the reconfiguration is complete? Sarah asked. At current rates, approximately 6 hours, Cleth Moru answered. Its skin now a disturbed yellow-green. Captain, I've been analyzing the signal patterns with your science team. We believe these are not weapons, but communication devices. Richter scoffed. Communication with what? We don't know, the alien admitted. But the signals contain mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric ratios, quantum constants, universal concepts that any advanced species would recognize. Sarah moved to the science station, studying the data. You're saying these artifacts are trying to talk to us, or through us, Cleth Moru suggested. Perhaps they are translators, designed to facilitate communication between vastly different forms of life. That doesn't explain why everyone who studies them ends up dead or insane, Richter pointed out. Clethmoru's skin rippled acknowledgement. Perhaps the message is not meant for minds like ours, or perhaps we are receiving it incorrectly. Sarah stared at the pulsing sphere on the screen, a desperate plan forming. What if we answered back? The bridge fell silent. The artifacts respond to interaction. Sarah continued, thinking aloud. When we attack them, they defend themselves and signal the others. But has anyone tried simply talking to them on their terms? Clethmoru's skin brightened with interest. The mathematical sequences. If we responded with the next logical values in each sequence, it could establish a dialogue. Sarah finished. Or at least let whatever's listening know that we understand. Captain, Richter protested. Earth Command has ordered. I know what they've ordered. Sarah cut him off. They want us to run home and hide while they burn everything to the ground. But that's not why I joined Starfleet, and it's not why any of you did either. She looked around the bridge, meeting each officer's eyes in turn. Humanity has brought terror to the stars. We've conquered and destroyed out of fear, but we're more than that. We're explorers, discoverers, and right now we might be the only ones willing to try something other than running or fighting. She turned to Clethmoru. Can you help us craft a response to the artifact signals? The alien's skin flushed a determined orange. Yes, my team has already identified patterns we could extend. Torres, prepare to transmit on all frequencies the artifact is using. Richter, move us into optimal transmission range. Richter hesitated. Captain, if this goes wrong, then we're no worse off than if we follow Scorched Earth, Sarah said firmly. But at least we'll have tried something besides destruction. The crew sprang into action, a new energy filling the bridge. For 6 hours, they worked alongside the Xeraxian scientists, crafting a message of mathematical constants and cosmic ratios, a universal language of numbers and relationships that transcended species and culture. As they prepared to transmit, alarm klaxons blared. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Torres shouted, Earth Fleet configuration. Captain, they're arming weapons. The view screen split to show a formation of Earth's most powerful warships, led by the dreadnought UES Vengeance. Incoming transmission from the Vengeance, Paddle reported. It's Admiral Wilson. Sarah straightened her uniform and nodded. On screen, Wilson's face appeared, flanked by 2 security officers. Captain Chen, you are hereby relieved of command for insubordination during wartime. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Admiral, Sarah replied, we've made a breakthrough. The artifacts aren't weapons. They're communication devices. We've prepared a response to their signals. Stand down, Captain, Wilson growled. That's a direct order. Sarah looked at her crew, saw the determination in their eyes, then back to Wilson. I'm afraid I can't do that, Admiral. We're about to make first contact. She nodded to Torres, who initiated the transmission. The bridge view screens flickered as the complex mathematical message streamed toward the artifact. Captain Chen, Wilson shouted, abort that transmission immediately, or we will open fire. Sarah watched as the message reached the artifact. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sphere at the center of the web began to change. The absolute blackness lightened, colors swirling within it like an awakening eye. Weapons locked from the Earth fleet, Torres reported tensely. The artifact pulsed once, twice, 3 times, and then a beam of impossible light erupted from its center, stretching out into the void. What have you done? Wilson whispered, horror in his voice. Sarah watched as the beam split, branched, connected to invisible points across space, creating a network of light that mirrored the dark web of the artifact itself. I don't know, she answered honestly, but we're about to find out. The network of light spread across the view screen like a cosmic web, connecting points invisible to the naked eye. For several breathless moments, the bridge crew of the Harbinger watched in silent awe as the phenomenon expanded. Captain, Torres whispered, the Earth fleet is powering down weapons. Sarah glanced at the tactical display. The Vengeance and its accompanying vessels had indeed ceased their targeting locks. On the view screen, Admiral Wilson's face showed naked astonishment. Before anyone could speak, a new alarm sounded. Energy surged from the artifact, Torres reported, his voice rising. Massive quantum fluctuations. The bridge lights flickered and died. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red. Sarah felt a strange pressure behind her eyes, a sensation like falling while standing still. "It's scanning us," Clethmore gasped, its skin cycling through colors so rapidly it appeared to strobe. Not just our ship, our minds. The pressure increased. Sarah gripped the command chair as images flashed through her consciousness. Earth, seen from orbit. The devastation of the Eldari homeworld. The ruins of Proxima Centauri. But these weren't her memories. She was seeing Earth through alien eyes, witnessing humanity's violence from the perspective of those who had suffered it. Then came something else, a vast consciousness, ancient beyond comprehension, stirring from slumber, curious, evaluating, judging. "Captain," Richter's voice broke through the psychic assault. "Something's coming through." The view screen changed, the web of light coalescing into a shape. Not quite humanoid, not quite anything recognizable. A constantly shifting form composed of light and mathematical precision. When it spoke, Sarah heard it both through the ship's systems and directly in her mind. "Your message has been received," it said, its voice harmonizing in impossible ways. First contact protocol initiated. Sarah forced herself to stand despite the continuing mental pressure. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Harbinger." "Ooh, what are you?" The being's form shifted again. "We are the architects. We observe. We preserve. We prepare." "Prepare for what?" Sarah managed to ask. "The harvest." The single word sent a chill through the bridge. Admiral Wilson's voice cut in from the still open channel to the Vengeance. "Captain Chen, disengage immediately." "That's an order." Sarah ignored him. "What is the harvest?" The being's form expanded, filling the view screen. When species reach technological maturity, they face a choice: evolution or extinction. The artifacts assess readiness. The harvest collects those worthy of ascension, and those found unworthy. Sarah asked, though she feared she knew the answer. "A return to the cosmic cycle," the being replied dispassionately. "Their resources redistributed to nurture new potential." Sarah exchanged glances with Clethmore, whose skin had gone ash-gray. "You've been watching us, testing us. For millennia," the architect confirmed. "Your species has shown remarkable adaptability, technological creativity. But your solution to fear is conquest. Your answer to threat is destruction." The being's form shifted again, displaying scenes from human history: wars, environmental devastation, the Eldari genocide. "Even now, your leaders prepare to destroy your own worlds rather than risk losing them." Sarah felt the weight of humanity's judgment pressing down on her. "We're young as a species. We've made mistakes. But we can learn. We can change." "Perhaps," the architect replied. "But time has expired. The network is activated. The harvesters approach." A new alarm blared. Torres's voice shook as he reported, "Captain, sensors are detecting massive objects emerging from subspace, thousands of them, appearing throughout the galaxy." The architect's form seemed to look past Sarah, toward Admiral Wilson on the other screen. "Your scorched earth protocol is known to us. It will not save you, but it does reveal your evolutionary status." "Wait." Sarah stepped forward. "Admiral Wilson doesn't speak for all of humanity. Neither do I. We're diverse, complicated. Some of us choose violence, yes, but others choose understanding, connection. We can be better than our worst instincts." The beam's form paused its shifting. "Interesting. You chose communication when your leaders chose destruction. A minority position among your kind. But not unique," Sarah insisted. "Throughout our history, there have always been those who sought peace over war, understanding over fear. Judge us by our potential, not just our failures. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the architect was silent. Then it spoke directly into Sarah's mind alone. The harvest cannot be halted, but it can be modified. Outside the Harbinger's viewports, the darkness of space was giving way to a new kind of darkness. Vast ships, larger than worlds, emerging from the void. The harvesters had arrived, and humanity's time for judgment had come. The massive harvester ships loomed outside every viewport, their surfaces so dark they appeared as ship-sized voids against the stars. On the bridge of the Harbinger, warning systems blared as the ship's sensors struggled to process the scale of what they were detecting. "They're everywhere," Torres reported, his voice hollow. "Not just here. Reports coming in from across the galaxy. Earth, Proxima, the Eldari territories, Xeraxia, every inhabited system." The architect's form continued to shift on the view screen, mathematical patterns flowing through its luminous body. "The assessment is complete. The harvest begins." Admiral Wilson's face on the second screen had gone pale. "Captain Chen, the Joint Chiefs have authorized me to negotiate whatever these beings want. They want to determine if we deserve to exist." Sarah cut him off, her mind racing. The architect had spoken of modifying the harvest, not stopping it. There had to be a way to prove humanity's worth. She turned back to the shifting form. "You said our solution to fear is conquest. Our answer to threat is destruction." "You're right. That's been our history. But it's not our destiny." The beam pulsed with light. "Words, irrelevant. Then judge us by our actions." Sarah gestured to Kaleth Moru. "The Xeraxians surrendered to us. Under our protocols, we should have occupied their world, stripped their resources. That's what the architects would expect based on our history." She stepped closer to the view screen. "Instead, we formed an alliance. We shared knowledge. When they discovered your artifact, we worked together to understand it rather than destroy it." "A single example," the architect responded. "Statistically insignificant." "Then look deeper," Sarah insisted. "Throughout human history, even in our darkest moments, there have always been those who chose compassion over conquest, who risked everything to protect others, even enemies." The architect's form pulsed again, faster now. "Your species destroyed the Eldari civilization. And I carry that shame," Sarah acknowledged. "But before that, we learned from them. We grew together. We can do that again, with the Xeraxians, with others, even with you." For a moment, the bridge fell silent. Then the architect spoke again, its voice resonating through both mind and speakers. "An interesting proposal. But the harvest protocol is absolute. Civilizations must be pruned for the garden of consciousness to flourish." Sarah felt desperation building. They were running out of time. "Then take me," she said suddenly. The bridge crew turned to her in shock. "Captain," Richter began, but Sarah raised her hand to silence him. "Take me as a representative," she continued, addressing the architect. "Study me. Learn what humanity can become at its best. And if you still find us wanting, then harvest as you will." The architect's form stilled, its shifting patterns freezing in place. "You would sacrifice yourself to represent your species?" "Yes," Sarah said without hesitation. "No," came another voice. Admiral Wilson's image stepped forward on the screen. "If a representative is needed, it should be me." Sarah turned in surprise. "I ordered the Scorched Earth Protocol," Wilson continued. "I authorized the final strikes against the Eldari. If humanity is to be judged, let it be through the one who made those choices." The architect's form began shifting again, more rapidly than before. "Unexpected," it said. Two volunteers, representing opposing approaches. The warrior and the explorer. A beam of light suddenly extended from the view screen, splitting into two. One touched Sarah's forehead, the other extending through space to connect with Admiral Wilson on the Vengeance. Sarah gasped as her mind was flooded with images, memories, knowledge, not just her own, but Wilson's as well. She saw his decisions, felt his anguish over ordering attacks that killed millions, understood his desperate desire to protect Earth at any cost. And he, she realized, was seeing her memories too. Her hopes for peaceful contact, her guilt over the Eldari, her belief that humanity could be better than its violent impulses. The beam withdrew as suddenly as it had appeared. Sarah stumbled, catching herself on a console. The architect's form expanded, filling the view screen. "The harvest will proceed," it announced. Sarah's heart sank. They had failed. "But it has been modified," the being continued. "You will not be destroyed. You will be educated." Outside, the harvester ships were changing, their surfaces rippling like disturbed water. "For 10 of your generations, the artifacts will remain. They will share knowledge. They will guide. They will watch. At the end of this period, we will return to assess your progress." The architect's form began to fade. The terror humanity has brought to the stars can become something else. Wonder, discovery, growth, or it can remain terror, and you will face the unmodified harvest when we return. As the being disappeared, a final message echoed through the minds of everyone watching. "The choice, as always, is yours." On the bridge of the Harbinger, Sarah slowly straightened, meeting Clethmoru's gaze. The alien skin had shifted to a deep purple, a color she hadn't seen before. "What does purple mean?" she asked quietly. "Hope," Clethmoru replied. "It means hope." As the vast harvester ships began to withdraw, folding somehow back into dimensions beyond human perception, Admiral Wilson's voice came through the still open channel. "Captain Chen, I'm ordering all Earth ships to stand down. The Scorched Earth Protocol is hereby terminated." He paused. "It seems we have work to do." Sarah nodded, looking out at the stars. "No longer a battlefield, but a classroom." "Yes, Admiral. About 10 generations worth." As the Harbinger systems returned to normal, Sarah felt a strange calm replace the tension that had gripped her for days. Humanity had brought terror to the stars. Now they had a chance to bring something better. But as she turned to give orders for their return to Xeraxia, a small, glowing mote of light, like a miniature version of the architect, appeared briefly beside her, unnoticed by the rest of the crew. "The first lesson begins now," it whispered in her mind alone. "For not all the architects agree with this decision. Some believe your kind beyond redemption. Prove them wrong, Captain Chen. The true test has only just begun." The mote vanished, leaving Sarah with the unsettling knowledge that humanity's reprieve might be more complicated than it appeared, and far more dangerous. 3 months after the harvest that wasn't, Sarah stood in the newly constructed observatory on Xeraxia Prime, watching as scientists from a dozen species worked side by side. The massive chamber housed the most ambitious joint project in galactic history, the Architect Interface Initiative. At the center of the observatory sat a scaled-down version of the artifact, its dark tendrils carefully contained within a series of energy fields. Teams took turns attempting to communicate with it, building on the mathematical sequences that had proven successful during first contact. "Progress?" Sarah asked as Clethmoru approached, its skin a thoughtful blue-green. "Slow but steady," the alien replied. "The artifact responded to our latest transmission with what appears to be stellar cartography data, star systems we didn't know existed." Sarah nodded, watching as a human scientist worked alongside a Xeraxian counterpart, their differences forgotten in the shared pursuit of knowledge. "And the coalition?" "Growing," Clethmoru confirmed. "The Vrexel delegation arrived this morning. Even they recognize that survival requires cooperation now." The Interspecies Coalition had been Sarah's brainchild, formed in the weeks following the architect's departure. With Earth's backing, and Admiral Wilson's surprising support, she had reached out to every spacefaring civilization, offering a simple choice: work together to meet the architect's challenge, or face the next harvest alone. Most had joined willingly. Others, like the warrior Vrexel, had required more convincing. "Captain Chen," a voice called. Sarah turned to see Commander Richter entering the observatory, tablet in hand. The Harbinger is ready for departure. Earth Command has approved your new mission parameters. Sarah took the tablet, scanning the orders. The Harbinger would lead a joint expedition to catalog and study each known artifact throughout the galaxy. A 5-year mission of exploration and diplomacy. Exactly what she had joined Starfleet hoping to do. "Have you selected your new XO yet?" Richter asked. Sarah smiled. "I was hoping you'd stay on, David." Richter shook his head. "Appreciate the offer, but the Vengeance needs a captain now that Wilson's taken the Admiral's desk at Coalition HQ. Besides," he added with a rare smile, "someone has to keep the old guard in line while you're out there making friends." "Fair enough." Sarah offered her hand, which Richter shook firmly. "Keep Earth on track, Commander." "That's Captain to you now," he corrected with a smirk. As Richter departed, Sarah turned back to the observation window. Beyond the gleaming spires of the Ziraxian capital, construction vessels swarmed around the framework of something new. A massive station designed to house representatives from every coalition species. The first true galactic forum. "Does it worry you?" Kaleth Moru asked quietly, its skin shifting to a perceptive violet. "What the fragment told you about disagreement among the architects?" Sarah had shared the warning with only her closest advisors, Kaleth Moru, Wilson, and a select few others. No sense causing panic when they already faced such an enormous challenge. "Every day," she admitted. "But maybe that's the point. Maybe staying vigilant is part of the test." Kaleth Moru's skin rippled with agreement. "My people have a saying. The most beautiful harmonies arise from notes that once clashed." Sarah smiled. "We have a similar one. Diamonds are formed under pressure." Her communicator chimed, the Harbinger signaling readiness for her return. As she prepared to leave, Sarah took one last look at the scientists working together, at the city being transformed, at the stars visible through the transparent dome overhead. Humanity had indeed brought terror to the stars. But now, perhaps, they could bring something else. Determination, ingenuity, cooperation. The very qualities that had made them feared could, properly channeled, make them worthy. The mode of light had warned her that the true test was just beginning. She believed it. But for the first time since the Proxima incident, since Earth had turned conquest into policy, since the shadow of extinction had loomed over them all, Sarah felt something else. Not just Kaleth Moru's purple hope, but certainty. Humanity would pass this test, not because they were exceptional, but because they would no longer face it alone. As she stepped away from the window, a faint shimmer of light caught her eye. There for just a moment, then gone. Watching, evaluating. Always. The lessons had begun. And Sarah Chen, captain of the Harbinger, was ready to learn.